As you know, I like to start it off nice and casually. You saw us doing the walkthrough. Guys, welcome to Strength on a Struggle Fit Life. If you've seen the show and you like what we do, please like, share, or subscribe. This show, we're going to change lives, and I want to tell as many stories as possible that show you that anything is possible, that you can make it to strength through struggle. Everyone's got a story, and I'm helping here tell the stories that change lives. Today, one of the most amazing people in my life, I train a family called the Cahi family, and Michele is an occupational therapist, a good friend. They're all good friends, but also has been through a journey to get here. And I went to visit her at Headway the other day to see the work that she does, and I was so inspired that I said, I've got to get you on the show. Please welcome occupational therapist Michele Cahi.
Thank you,
What's
Cassie.
up?
Thank
Welcome.
you. Lovely to be here.
It's amazing to have you here. So, I mean,
Thanks, Cassie.
let's go straight to where it all began. I want to know when you were younger. I mean, I know your story about training, going to the gym with your mom and stuff. When you were young, was fitness prevalent in the home? Eating right? Give me the dynamic of the family when you were young, growing up. Let's go back.
Okay, gotta go back in time.
Sip.
Get all those cobwebs out
Yeah.
the way. Kaz, I was very fortunate to be born into the family that I was born into.
Yeah.
My dad, Ray Joseph, was a Lebanese. Joseph is very Lebanese, so
Yes.
he was a Lebanese man,
Yeah.
and full of love, full of warmth, and family was paramount in his mind.
Yeah.
My mom was 14 years younger than my dad, South African, and they were kind of a weird match because she was tall and blonde, and my dad was short and very Lebanese looking.
So dad was like a Tom Cruise. Like a Cruise in the Cold
Pretty much like a Robert De Niro kind of vibe, very cool. And he was a high flyer, well-to-do,
Yes.
and for the first, I would say, 15 years of my life, it was blissful.
Yeah.
We lived in a beautiful home in Morning Hill in Bedford View. Grew up with everything we needed, everything we wanted. And in those days we had these massive homes with big gardens, tennis courts, swimming pools. So I spent a lot of time outdoors. Our house was also on a field and a river. So we did a lot of time and walks. I did a lot of walking with my dad. He used to come home from work, and we used to go for a walk around the block. And I used to watch my mom go to the gym. And I used to accompany her as a child and watch her do her aerobics classes, and sometimes when I could, I'd get involved.
I think I may have met your mom in one of my aerobics classes.
Definitely. Definitely. She recognizes you. She does.
Yes.
So, I was surrounded by outdoor living and also a mother who was very sporty, very involved with her gym. And my brother and I weren't the biggest sports fanats. I wasn't actually very sporty. I was kind of a little bit uncoordinated as a child. And I think looking back, I really did need OT as a kid to get my coordination right. But as I went through school, I realized the importance of health and fitness. We played quite a bit of tennis, even though I was a bit uncoordinated. And I always was quite a chubby kid. So my self-esteem wasn't great.
So was that more because of movement, or because diet wasn't, or you liked your sweeties, or what was it? Let's talk about what you'd eat in home, because if mum and dad were pretty wellness orientated, what is the diet like at home for you and your bro and mum and dad? And I know Lebanese food is amazing, so I know there were some delicious meals up there.
We ate really well. We had cooked meals every night, home-cooked meals, lots of Lebanese food, lots of roasts, things like that, but a lot of veggies. And I remember eating a lot of veg, fruit, those kinds of things. But obviously in those days we didn't know so much about preservatives, things like that. So, Cocoa Pops was a big go-to in the morning. And also my dad was a chocoholic, so every night after supper he'd take us to what we called the old man. There was this old guy who had a cafe in the Bedford Centre shopping centre, and we used to go every night. And
Where about in the centre?
It was at one of the entrances.
Before they redid.
Yes.
Remember they had Hoagie's diner there?
Yes.
They had.
It was that entrance where Vinny's was, that pizzeria.
Yes.
And never mind a small chocolate. I used to get a big slab every night and devour it. So that's where my sweet tooth comes from. And yeah, so that's kind of how we existed, is, you know, enjoying food, loving food.
Yeah.
But the problem was that as I got into my teen years, I was struggling with weight. And I had a mom who was very vigilant about the way she looked. Very
Would you say your mom had naturally good genetics because she was always slim? So did she also used to partake in the chocolate and the treats or not?
A bit, and you know, I always felt hard done by it because she could eat and not put on weight, whereas I'd eat and then I'd put on the weight.
Okay.
So at the age of
sorry to disturb, but there must have been a lot of pressure for a young lady coming into the changes, body perspective and all that stuff. What is that like going for you?
It definitely set me up in a negative frame of mind about my self-esteem, about the way I look, and I still struggle with that. It continues through life, and I didn't have a very good self-identity. I feel that I also suffered from body dysmorphic behavior, where I saw something very different to what other people saw in me. But I think that, you know, going into a Wales program at the age of 12, 13 was in a way a negative experience. A lot of pressure.
Getting weighed, weekly.
Yeah, and having to have that little scale, and everything was weighed, and everything was, you know.
So you went from eating all this super chocolate and everything else to being on diet.
Yeah, and those Slim Slabs, oh my God, they were hideous. So, you know, I had to change everything. And I think being young, it wasn't a very positive experience. And since that time, food has become a difficult aspect of my life, something that I constantly think of, something that I feel guilty about if I don't eat well. And it became more and more of a thing as I got older as well. I never had a problem with my eating, but my relationship with food is like a give and take. I've got to be very sure of, you know, eating healthily, because my go-to is not healthy. So, you know, I crave burgers, I crave stuff like that, but I don't allow myself to go into that space often. And I'm very fortunate that I married a man who is also that way inclined, very health conscious. We watch what we eat, watch what we drink. And it's not easy in our day-to-day life, right? I mean, you know, we're busy. I find myself during the day stopping in, getting like a sandwich from Woolies, and that's not good eating. And it's very much about time and convenience. So that is the major issue in my life, is really planning meals, planning my life so that I can get my exercise in with you, that I can look after myself properly, drink enough water, which is always difficult. But yeah, I think childhood, you know, and then you go into your teens and you end up starting to go out and jolling and drinking and eating at odd times, binging at night when you get home after the jaw. Find ourselves at Bimbos and having hamburgers and stuff.
Let's talk about Bimbos. Shout out Bimbo Shawarmas. Just like anybody that had a Bimbo Shawarma, you guys know what we're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, it was things like that, and I was very fortunate in my later school years to find rowing, which obviously didn't need too much coordination. It was more sort of gross motor movements.
Cardio.
Great cardio. Great cardio, and a very fulfilling sport. And I really loved those times in my life, and I wish I could go back to rowing. It's something that I found a lot of peace and love for the sport, but unfortunately there aren't many places you can row in Johannesburg.
See, like, everyone's got a story, because you're talking about the rowing now. A lot of people may not know about that.
Yeah.
You just thought maybe you went to the gym and et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about when you first realized that you wanted to get into occupational therapy. Was there something else on your mind, or when did you be like, okay, I might want to do this?
Yeah.
Because it's a big decision.
It is a big decision. You know? And you know, kids today, they're so confused, and I was confused as well. I mean, you know, it's the rest of your life, and you don't know what to do with it. And when my dad, he passed away from suicide when I was 16. I was in Standard 9, which we call grade 11 now. And he suffered depression and psychosis for 2 years prior to that.
I don't want to skip over that. What I want to ask
Yeah.
is, would you say, because I normally ask people, what was the hardest thing that they've been through, and how did they get through that struggle? And I know that is a sensitive point, so let's not just run over it. Let's just unpack that.
Sure.
What happened around there? I mean, because now you can look back with a different perspective. What happened? What is he going through? And how did you find peace? What did you use to get strength out of that situation?
Right.
Because I know so many other people out there. There's a lot of people that are going through the same thing, but they just don't know who to talk to.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, if my dad had been alive and had continued through my life with me, I'd probably not be in this profession, because he wanted me to do finance like he did. He wanted me to become a financial director as he was of DeFi or some big company.
So what did he go through? Do you think there was a hormonal problems or what? Just let's hear from your...
So
what happened?
when my dad was about 50, there were marital issues between my mom and my dad, and that came out, and it was a huge shock for him. There were major issues there. And also, it was in 1994, and that was the time when Nelson Mandela was being released. And a lot of... Yeah.
When we released our first album, Casey, I remember, okay?
Yeah.
What a year.
So, you know, he lost his job. A lot of white males were being retrenched. A lot of South Africans were leaving the country in fear of the change of the democratic South Africa coming into play. And so my dad lost his job. And every job that he applied for, he was overqualified and too old. He was in his 50s, and he'd worked as managing and financial director of General Electric and DeFi for many, many years. So when they pulled out of the country at that time, he was made redundant. And so trying to find a position like that to fulfill was very difficult for him. He could not find it. And my mom had never worked before, and we started to lose everything.
So the pressure on him. Probably probably blamed himself.
Absolutely.
Guilt.
Absolutely. So much guilt. And
back in the day, might I say, the masculine wouldn't actually go and reach out for help.
no.
It wasn't be like, okay, maybe let me go speak to someone.
Absolutely.
Maybe get a therapist. That was like,
No. There was not even therapists. I mean, I don't even remember. We didn't even go to a therapist as children, you know, when he passed.
And a lot of us all needed help.
Totally.
You know?
Absolutely. And that was the really, really difficult time for me. And it was a turning point in my life. And
I would imagine everything changed.
Everything changed. We lost everything. We lost the house, we lost the cars, we lost, you know, our identity of who we were as a family, as people that were well known in our community. And also there was a shift in spirituality. So we were brought up very Catholic. My father was a Knight of the Garma. He was very involved in the Catholic Church. Unfortunately, that was looked upon as a sin.
Yeah, because yes.
You know, you're not allowed to take your life in that religion. Well, that's kind of old school now. Things have changed in the Catholicism, the way we look at things.
Well, just to say that I relate to that because my brother committed suicide as well.
Yeah.
And also growing up Catholic, similar issues.
All the guilt, all the shame.
That's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because I relate and there's an empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
So before you go any further, I just wanted to let you know that I understand and I sympathize and I'm with you.
Thank you, Kaz.
So from there you were saying?
So after that, after our priest told us that my dad had been pretty much condemned to hell, my brother turned to Buddhism. My mother never went back to the church. I ended up dating a Jewish guy, and my faith fell away. But at the same time, my dad's will of me becoming a financial person also kind of waned. I realized that his business hadn't worked out for him.
Yeah.
His calling didn't work out for him. But I also really, really needed to find out what actually happened to him. What had happened to the strong, stable person that he was my rock. He was everyone's rock. So I started looking at psychology, psychiatry, and I wasn't too sure where to go to. So I took a year of school, and that's when I found out about occupational therapy. And I realized that the degree was really well known for pediatrics. So most OTs become pediatric OTs in schools, working with disabled children, that kind of thing. But when I realized that OT also had the psychiatric component where you can work in adult psychiatry, I was like, this is what I want to do. Because it also involves the holistic approach of looking at the person, and also involves really looking at their activities. So what do they do on a daily basis? Their routine in their daily lives. And we look at it and look at the different aspects of leisure, personal management, work, social, and sleep. So we really encompass all of that and try to treat the person in every aspect and look where they are struggling and where we need to fill in the gaps to make their lives, fruitful and satisfying.
So from your biggest loss, you had this time to contemplate and meditate and saw and felt that something went amiss with Dad. So there was something that was not fulfilled. There was a gap there, and you wanted to be the one to try and figure out how to fulfill this, or to try and fill the gap so this would not hopefully happen to many people that came after.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing how, and that's really what strength of our struggle is. Sometimes from our biggest loss, we want to make peace with it. We want to turn it into healing. Either we give up, or we turn it into some form of healing and we become of service.
Absolutely.
I see that's what happened with you.
Absolutely.
Because you could have just easily to hell with everything. But something did put you back.
Yes.
That service brought you back.
Absolutely, Kaz. It did, and as soon as I started the degree, I realized that I'd chosen the right thing.
Let's talk about what occupational therapy is, because it sounds like occupational therapy, like work therapy, but I've seen what happens, and there's people that have there's from all levels, people that can hardly speak, they've had brain injuries, almost died, all the way to helping a kid with just basic motor skills.
Absolutely.
So let's unpack what occupational therapy actually is.
Okay, so occupation means more than just work. Yeah. It's about what we occupy our lives with, what our time is spent doing in every aspect of our lives, not just work. And I think that's one thing that we need to really unpack, is that work is not everything that we are. And if we make it everything that we are, if we lose our jobs, we lose ourselves. Yes, it gives us a large part of what our identity is and what we are made up of. But it's not everything. And as people, often the second or third question we ask a stranger is, what do you do for a living? So when you lose that, or you can't fulfill that properly, there's a huge loss of identity. So we've got to realize that it's not just about what we do, whether it be work or school. It is more than that. OTs we have very different areas of professional specialization we can go into. The different areas are obviously pediatrics, psychiatry, neurology, hands. We are the specialists in hands, so any rehabilitation of the hands, whether it be like a stab wound, you break your hand, we do all the splints, if you've ever seen the plastic splints, that kind of thing. So we get the referrals from the orthopedic surgeons, how to splint, what they need for us to do in the rehab. And also we go into medico-legal, which is assessments done for medico-legal purposes, mostly like road accident fund claims, that kind of thing. So we have to really assess the person in their entirety.
Wow.
We are also one of the only professions that do work and home visits and return to work programs. So we have vocational rehabilitation training. So, for example, I was supposed to go into psych. This is what I thought I was going to do. But going through the degree, I realized that I love the brain. And I was so impressed with the workings of it in every aspect. It's just phenomenal. It's amazing. Our computers that work inside our skulls are incredible. So what I loved about neurology is that it encompasses the psychiatric component as well as the physical rehabilitation. So for me, it was completely holistic. I could look at their physical. And for me, as you know, physical activity is so important. I get you, you get me. And the endorphins that are released from the physical rehabilitation side for me really work hand in hand with the psychiatric rehabilitation that needs to happen after someone suffers any form of brain injury, neurological fallout, spinal cord injury, and those are my areas of love and my profession. So I look at stroke, head injury, brain tumor removal, anything that's happened in the brain, and how to rehabilitate that.
We were talking the other day about how sometimes we celebrate moments when we see our clients or our patients make a big improvement. First of all, I want to talk about a moment in your career where you've just maybe felt like you want to give up, and then a moment maybe when you felt like, wow, I've made this really what I want to do. Like this, it all makes sense right now.
Right.
Do you have any memories on those both?
Yeah.
Within the world, because it's hard, because what people don't know is you see life, you see death, you see people that are in really uncomfortable situations, and you've got to help them with their self-love and to not feel embarrassed about what state they're in. And let's talk about that, because it's more than people think.
It is. I think the hardest part of my job is seeing people in a situation where they can't even toilet themselves. They lose all dignity. I'm literally there helping them clean themselves or clean the mess. I think one of the most difficult problems for me is spinal cord injury. It's such a debilitating thing, if someone becomes quadriplegic, where they don't even have use of their hands and they're paralyzed from the neck down. For me, that's where I'm really pushed to my limit of how do I get through this day looking at this person and realizing this is tough. This is a tough one. This is the rest of their lives, not being able to do anything independently. And I remember once when I was still working at Kensington Clinic, which is now a life rehab hospital, and I had a 14-year-old little girl who had fallen off a jungle gym and crushed her spine at the C6, C7 level. And here's this beautiful little girl, and she's confined to a wheelchair, completely paralyzed for the rest of her life. And it's those moments where I'm just thinking, like, why am I doing this? This is devastating, and you can't sleep at night because you just have this little face in front of you. Those are the times where I've questioned my occupation and if I'm strong enough to do this.
Probably your faith as well.
And my faith. Why does this happen to beautiful, innocent people? But, it's overcome with the fact that they just appreciate anything you do for them. The love you give them, the smile you give them.
No matter how bad the situation, there's still that hope in them.
Absolutely. And just someone that understands. That understands what they're going through. And often I've kept relationships going for many, many years with past patients. I still see patients that I've been treating for like 20 years. Because it's a long-term chronic problem when you are disabled. Brain injury never goes away. Stroke never goes away. Insult into the brain or the spinal cord never goes away. Multiple sclerosis, anything like that, it's lifelong. So a lot of my patients are long-term chronic patients as well as the acute setting. So I see the struggle from the get-go all the way through.
What makes you wanna? So now we're going to talk about the lighter side of it. When you see moments when there's a bit of improvement, anything that sticks out, and what does that feel like? Because there'll be a situation where you maybe think this person's not going to have any improvement at all, and then something happens. Like I remember I met a lady at your clinic who was talking to me. The sentences, she couldn't finish the sentence, but I was getting what she was saying. But she couldn't say the last few sentences. And you were telling me about saying something a bit more clear about a few weeks later. And you're able to really understand. What is that like? And have you had more moments like that? What does it feel like?
Okay, it's just the most wonderful feeling. And there are always moments like that. And that's, the good completely outweighs the bad of my degree. There's never really, my work, there's never really a time where I felt, okay, I'm ready to give up. I love what I do. And it's those little things that you see, those little improvements, those little baby steps that are just so rewarding. I just think that my profession is one of the most rewarding out there. I see people going from not moving their toe to being able to walk. I've seen, I do a lot of upper limbs, so the physios focus more on the walking. I focus more on balance and sitting, transfers in and out of the car, transfers on and off the toilet, into the bath, out of the bath, and I also get the adaptations that they need. So I will order whatever assistive devices they need. So wheelchairs, bath boards, toilet seat raisers, all those kinds of things. I adapt the home, I adapt the work. And just seeing the person being able to become more independent with my assistance is just so rewarding.
Wow.
And just to have the knowledge to impart on to them and to their families and friends of what is actually going on here. Like, why can't this person just talk? Or why are they so aggressive? Or why are they not the person or what they were? And just giving them that information and seeing light bulbs come on. It's just, and then getting up and saying, thank you. You have no idea what this information has done for all of us. And that's where the real beauty is. You know, that's where I just feel so great. Also with a spastic arm, when you start seeing movement, you know, you start seeing the shoulder move, the fingers open, and you just think, yes, here we are.
So we truly take things for granted if you think about it.
We do, Cass.
Little things, I mean, just the fingers, the hands, the basic functional movements.
Absolutely, and you know, in our country, not being able to drive, we don't have a lot of public transport. These people are stuck at home. A lot of my work is actually home visits. I'm in my car all day. But these people can't come to me.
Of course.
They're stuck. So, you know, if you don't have money to afford Uber or a driver, or your family members work full time, you know, how are you supposed to get around?
Exactly.
And the families have to take over as the breadwinners. If the person was a breadwinner, they have to take on all the roles that the person now can't fulfill. So it's very stressful.
That's intense, but it's beautiful. Let's talk back to now how fitness plays a part in you taking care of yourself and your family. How does that help you in your workspace and in your life space? How important is that? And when did you fall in love with it? Because I know your first few years were a bit hectic. You enjoyed the walks, but there was pressure.
Always pressure about weight.
When did you start falling in love and really realize, okay, I've got to do this and got to love it? When did that change happen?
I would say that change happened in my late teens into my early 20s. So my mom was still doing her gym and I got involved in it, and I started really enjoying aerobics because I love music. I'm crazy about all kinds of music. So movement to music for me is like, yes. So I loved, you know, the aerobic side of it. And we used to go and do our classes together, my mum and I, and have our protein shakes after. And I loved that side of the exercise. Then I started working out a lot with my husband. So I got married at 24, and he was already in a program with a personal trainer. And since then, we've always exercised together. I also ended up doing quite a bit of running. I'm never competitive too much. I used to do like 10K, 5K runs, which I need to get back into. But I really enjoy my sessions with you, Kaz. You know, you push us to a limit that is still comfortable. So I never feel like I'm dead, and I never think, oh gosh, Kaz is coming. You make it fun. You make it interesting. You incorporate cardio with functional movements. So every time I'm picking up my groceries after, you know, the shopping, I think of you.
I think that comes from, I think when you're living in your purpose, I think when you choose to be of service, like, I mean, I fell in love with how the body moves and the difference you can make in getting people stronger and seeing those changes. And so when I'm training people, I just love to see them move and have fun. And I always tell you guys and everyone else, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Correct.
I want you to be able to enjoy time with your grandchildren.
Correct.
And I see also how incorporated fitness in the whole family is. Prepared your daughter, your son. You can all go on holiday now and go for a swim, go for a hike. I mean, your son goes to Midmar. Your daughter's cheerleading in America. I mean, and they also are doing so well at school because of the fitness. How important is exercise and in helping your kids deal with their lives and their studies.
Absolutely, Kaz. You know, before I get to that, something that's just come to mind is if I didn't train with you and you didn't correct my movements and make me aware of my back and technique of lift, which is what you really are brilliant at as your functional training, I would never be able to do my work, because often I'm moving patients from wheelchair to plinth or transferring them, and I'm aware.
And the way in which to hinge and take.
Correct.
And on that point, I don't want to skip past the fact that there's a lot of unqualified people out there.
Yes.
So we need to make sure that please make sure that your trainers, your therapists, everyone is certified. You are allowed to ask questions, because you could be in a situation where you could get hurt.
And we've both seen that a lot in gyms.
Is everything
guys. And I keep putting that into, what you've taught me, I put into my daily routine. And that's what functional training is about, right? So in terms of just going back to my patients before I get to my kids, the patients that have a better outcome after their injury are those patients who were fit and strong beforehand.
Okay.
So if I've got...
they know the benefits, it's anchored, that memory is there, like...
That muscle memory is always there.
Yes.
Always there. That movement, that motor planning is always there. It's laid down in the brain. So it just comes back.
Creative pathways, synapses have been connected in there.
Exactly.
Yes.
They're there. So if someone, like I've got a guy at the moment, he's 36, came off his mountain bike, hit a rock with his head, but he was a comrades runner, he was a mountain biker, he was everything, he does everything physically.
Yeah.
This guy's gone back to doing exercise, even though he's a hemiplegic.
Yeah.
He's doing like discum walks and stuff. I mean, he's amazing, but it's because of where he was before. Getting back to kids, yes, my kids have watched us all their lives, do exercise and be fit and be strong and lead healthy lives. And that's all you can do as a parent. You can only be a role model, right? So you can only model what you hope they take out of it. And the kids have become very strong and very physically and mentally strong.
Yes.
And one of the most important things that I've always tried to teach them and teach others is that physical movement and activity in your leisure aspect of my OT comes into play. The leisure aspect of physical activity is paramount.
Yeah.
If you don't have it and something happens to you, you have lost the role of worker. You don't have that beautiful leisure activity to bring you back to that part of yourself. So if you are a dancer or you're a soccer player, that is a massive part of coming back to yourself after an injury. It gives you endorphins. It makes you happy.
There's so many. Science is just backing up everything about that.
Yeah.
So we could go on and on and on. I want to talk about first of all what a fit life is for you. A definition of a fit life.
Yeah. A fit life is first and foremost activity of any sort, physical activity of any sort, that keeps your body at its optimum level. That may be different for all kinds of people, of different ages, all different walks of life.
Yeah.
I often look at people that don't have transport, sort of walking from the bus stops or from their taxis, and I think, wow, how lucky are they?
Yeah.
They get there exercising without even thinking about it, because they're forced to walk.
Yeah.
And that's the one sad thing about where we live is the security aspect.
Yes.
When I'm overseas or somewhere else and you're able to walk, you think, wow, this is like cardio without even worrying about it, But fit life is making your body and your mind the best it can be. And it's got to be a long-term thing. That's why you say it's a journey. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that is sustainable, that you enjoy doing. So yes, if you don't enjoy going to the gym, find something else.
Yeah.
Take up dance lessons.
Just move.
Just move your body. Just move. Put the music on at home. Dance with your kids.
Yeah.
Gardening. Make it fun.
Anything.
Make it fun.
I met up with a young lady that I used to train the family with when they were young. Haven't seen her for 5 years. And while I was training her, she was telling me that she's in the first year of service to the government. She's just become an occupational therapist, and she told me that she remembers you taking her to shadow over her. You know, and I was like, sometimes we don't even see the lives we touch. You have inspired someone else to go live their purpose out, and she's helping others. How does it feel when a life that you've touched or you've shed a light on is now assisting others?
It's wow. It's
That's
I don't like to take that. I can't take the credit.
No, but still,
But I'm like, it is. It's like a wow moment, and I'm so fortunate to work at a place called Headway Gauteng, which is an NPO for people with any form of brain injury.
Yeah.
It's more of a chronic setting, and it's group work, which I love. And we do all kinds of things. So it encompasses biokinetics, speech therapy, OT, and psych groups. And so a lot of students and scholars come into that space to learn. So I supervise a lot of scholars and, you know, often answer a lot of questions about what I do, and also then take a lot of the OT students in to supervise them and you know, mark them and that kind of thing as well. So when they come to me post their degree, or, you know, wow, you really touched my life and Headway really made a difference for me, it's just like, yay. Because that's the beauty of my profession, and that's when you really realize you love something. So when someone says, I love it as much as you do, and thank you for helping me and planting the seed, then I'm like, yay, my job is done.
It's amazing to be a part of someone's journey, to making their life the best possible life it could possibly be. Let's look 5 years into the future, because we're about to close now. If there's one thing that you could say to all those that may want to follow in your footsteps, occupational therapy or the wellness field, what would that be?
Do your homework. Shadow as many OTs as you possibly can, or the profession that you want to go into. Make sure that it's something that really resonates with who you are and what you want to do for the rest of your life. Absolutely. And look, OT is not about the money. I think there's a huge myth around any medical person. Everyone thinks, you're a doctor or you're a therapist, you must make a lot of money. We only have our two hands. And we do our professions. They are a calling, just as yours is. It's a calling of service. So make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Come and meet with me. Meet with other OTs. Realize what it's about. And make sure it fulfills your soul. Whatever you do in life, it must fulfill you. And make sure that everything you do in your life is not just a chore, and not just about the money. Because that's not what should drive us. When all that's taken away, and that's what I see, when it's all taken away from you, as it was when I was a child, as it is when you have physical or mental issues, you must find your purpose within yourself, within your physical and your mental self, and know yourself. Do what it takes. Do your work. Do your self-work. And Kaz, thank you for being a big part of my life. You've imparted so much emotional support, mental support, spiritual support, and physical support. So you, for me, mimic occupational therapy.
I mean, I truly appreciate that, but I think we both know that to be of service, we're both working for a higher power.
Absolutely.
And this is an opportunity for me to give people that I admire their flowers. So before, I don't want to wait till people pass away. So this is your flowers. I want to give you and all those other people in occupational therapy and in a place of service a big thank you and our gratitude. And please keep on doing what you're doing, keep on inspiring, and may you continue to be blessed.
Thank you, Kaz. So you too.
Guys, thank you for joining us on the show. It's going to keep on going. Please like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, keep reaching for the stars.